This video is brought to you by Stubborn Disciple Plays. Thank you for being a farm baron. Hey everybody, and welcome back to Griffin, Indiana. It is year 2. We've made it all the way through 1 year successfully with 3-day seasons, our little 3-day seasons experiment. And we are going to be spraying our fields today for weeds. And right now we're working a spray contract over on field 30. It's going to pay us $7,000. And we're going to use that money to offset the cost of the tractor and the sprayer kit, because we had to lease all of that. Our tractor is just too darn big to be spraying because, well, we can't put small tires on it. So we would be putting crop damage if we were to run our tractor through those fields at this current point. So we've got to lease up a small tractor, and I went ahead and leased the Cooverland sprayer and front tank while we're at it. Got a nice little red kit here. I'm using the 5710S Massey Ferguson and Dyna for our little tractor, and this whole kit cost us a fair bit of money. Probably about close to $8,000, I think. That's what we've spent so far in leasing costs. Let's see. $7,500. And as it turns out, this lease is going to cost, or this contract is going to pay us $7,800. So quite the handy payment there. So that will basically offset nearly the entire cost of the lease, assuming that we can get our fields sprayed and this field sprayed within 1 hour of operation. That way we can not roll into the next hour. I also plan on doing some more fertilizing contracts. We've got a few fertilizing contracts out here. I want to try to pick those up today to help pad our bank account quite a bit, because we need to buy that mower set that we talked about the other day. And we're going to have to modify our tractor. We're going to have to take the front weights off of that and put on a front 3-point and PTO module. That way we can use the front mower. So we've got some expense there. We're obviously going to have to probably buy some more herbicide. I've got one tank up at the farm. I just don't remember how much is in that particular tank. And I've got one tank still down at the shop, because I bought 2 pallets of spray when I took this contract out, and we took a little bit out of that second tank, but not too much. So how has your all's 3-day seasons gameplay been? If you're playing along, either on Griffin, Indiana, or maybe on another map, how has your all's 3-day seasons experiment worked out? Are you through the first year yet? Did you find yourself rained out, snowed out in any way with respect to your crops? I think our first year was pretty darn good, pretty successful. We were able to double crop all of our fields. We were able to get our crops out of the ground without too much problem. Be able to get pretty much everything done that we needed to get done on any one given day. And in fact, I'm running the clock at 5 times speed. Typically, I'd run the clock at 2 times speed, but I thought, you know what? We've been getting done our jobs pretty early in the day, running at 2 times. So let's just go ahead and bump that up and maybe work against the clock a little bit and see if we can't get all of the fields harvested that we want to get harvested, all of the fields sprayed that we want to get sprayed. We're just about halfway through the back tank. I don't think we've used the front tank at all at this point. Now, I haven't done too many seasonal spraying contracts. They don't seem to come up very often. So when I got this one, it was kind of interesting because the field had just a few spots of weeds in it. And then as soon as I accepted the contract, boom, the entire field was covered in weeds. It was pretty funny. So, in fact, if we go here and take a look at our weeds layer, you'll see pretty much none of the fields have a whole lot of weeds. We've got a little spotty weed over here. This field overall looks pretty good. And then field 21 just has a couple spots of weeds. But yeah, this field was pretty much in the same shape as like field 30, just a few spots. And then as soon as I took the weeding contract, boom, it completely covered the whole thing. It's pretty funny, in fact. So this is how I like to do weeds. I like to wait until crop growth. And then once the crops have done their emergence, if you will, I like to come over the field with herbicide. I spray the entire field with herbicide as a preventative measure. It will obviously kill off any weeds that exist, but it also then will prevent other weeds from growing back into this field until harvest. For the struggling farmer or the starting farmer, it's probably going to be very tempting to go with a weeder because weeders are cheap in that you buy them once, you never have to put spray in them. You know what? They're pretty inexpensive to operate after you buy them. But the problem with a weeder is not preventative maintenance on your field. The weeder will remove weeds that are there, but it will not prevent weeds from coming back. So that is something to be aware of, at least with Farm Sim 19. Don't know really too much about weeds in Farm Sim Double Deuce, other than the fact that it seems like weed growth is going to maybe be dependent on how you work the field. It sounded like maybe during a FarmCon presentation that if you work the field a specific way, then weeds will grow back faster than if you work a field a different way. That's kind of what I got out of that. So we've got a little bit left in the back tank, and again, I think we've got the front tank is full according to the gauge up there. So I think sometimes that's what catches some folks out about weeding, is they run a weeder over the field and then they're not sure what happened and why they have weeds grow back. Well, it's because the weeder is really only designed to remove the weeds that are there. It doesn't prevent weeds from growing back, because the whole process of using a weeder is that it pulls the weeds out of the ground. It obviously can't pull a weed out of the ground if the weed isn't there yet. But the herbicide, it will kill the weeds that are present and will prevent additional weeds from growing back until that harvest cycle. Once you harvest, then it's like a reset on the field with respect to weeds. Should be just about ready to close this one out, 97%. So let's keep an eye up there in the upper right corner of the screen. We'll look up a little bit so we have a little bit more roof. Better contrast on that. Spray is expensive. We don't want to put any more spray on the field than we absolutely have to. There we are. Contract is finished. Let's collect our money. Let's get these wings folded up. Hey, this guy should be paying me more money. He's got oil wells. He's got an oil well in his yard. Let's head on back to the shop and see how much herbicide we have left in the tank that we bought back at the shop. Basically, we started today with $125,000, and we're sitting at $121 after our lease payment, but that is because we had to buy 2 IBC containers of herbicide. One container for basically 2 containers. We end up using, I think, a little under 1 container for that contract. Hopefully we can use what we have left to get the bottom field and the small field below the farm. And then whatever is in the tank up at the farm, hopefully we can top our tanks off with that. And then we won't have to buy any more herbicide for our first harvest. And since we own our sprayer now, or not our sprayer, but our fertilized spreader, we can pretty much do our fertilizing contracts fairly economically. So by the time this video airs, we will have seen and heard about the European map, the Mediterranean map. That is going to be live streaming, would have live streamed last Friday afternoon, my time. I'm recording this ahead of time. If you hadn't realized that, I do often try my best to record these videos ahead of time. That way it gives me maximum flexibility on my personal schedule as well as other things. So as of the recording of this, we can't really talk about the live stream because, well, it hasn't happened yet. But let me know in the comments, what do y'all think of the location that's been revealed? I'll go ahead and go on record to say I think it's going to be Italy, personally. There's been speculation to be southern Spain, southern France, and I just think it's going to be Italy, my own personal opinion. Because we have olive oil, and we have olives, and we have grapes added. So I'm just thinking Italy. But you can tell me in the comments, was I right? Thumbs up. Was I wrong? Thumbs down. What area did you think the map was going to be in? And were you ultimately correct? Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. It's Friday afternoon my time. I'll be at work, so can't do any sort of live streaming, a reaction video or anything like that. But we can definitely see. Let's do this. Turn it on. Lock it in. So yeah, let me know, what did you think of the map? How did it look? I'm very eager, very excited to be able to talk about it next weekend during some live streams as we learn more about the map and if it has any interesting features, because we know Elm Creek is kind of a rural town setting where we don't have a big city per se, but we have more of just a kind of on the outskirts of a small town, which I think is a really nice setting for a European, or not for a European, but for an American map. Something else to let you all know about: tomorrow will be the premiere of Felsburn Revisited. We're going to do back to basics, Felsburn Revisited. We're going to play with 0 mods. Base game equipment, DLC only. Farm manager mode. Oh, sorry. Start from scratch. That's the mode we're going to do. So, my very first play in FS22 was on Felsburn. I chose Felsburn because a whole lot of folks that got early access to FS19 were playing and talking about Ravenport. They were mostly Europeans, and I can see why they were really liking Ravenport because, well, it was the scourge of American players. But at any rate, so I wanted to do Felsburn for 2 reasons. 1, I thought it looked nice. 2, not a lot of people were covering Felsburn, and I kind of like to go against the crowd with respect to popularity. So yeah, that's what we did. And I wanted to try out the new play modes coming from a kind of start from nothing series on Emerald Coast in 19, where we literally started with no money in our pockets, a chainsaw, and an old pickup truck, and then had at that point played several years through seasons and amassed quite a bit of land, quite a bit of equipment, and everything through hard work. I wanted to see what was start from scratch on FS19 like. I mean, we started with $500,000. How hard could it be? Well, it turned out to be quite a grind in getting money and earning money. I want to revisit that and see, is it still a grind? Or are we just not playing it right, and therefore it was more of a grind than it needed to be? So we're going to start that tomorrow. Ravenport Revisited, no mods, start from scratch, back to basic series. We're going to build out our main farm. We're going to start farming with only base game equipment and DLCs. And what reason we're doing that is we want fresh in our mind what is FS19 like with no mods. What is vanilla FS19 like? Let's remember what that is like, and let's experience the game with just DLC and base game equipment so that we can then have a good frame of reference when FS22 hits to be able to talk about the differences between base game 19 and base game 22. Because it's my opinion that it's not fair to talk about a fully modded FS19 that's been out for 3 years, has over 300 maps in the Giants mod hub, and multiple thousands of mods. I haven't counted recently. I think last time I counted, they were up to close to 3,000 mods in the Giants mod hub alone. So comparing a game that just released to a game that's been out for 3 years and has been heavily modded is not a fair comparison to any game. So I want to compare base game FS19 and paid DLC to base game 22 when that comes out. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to start that series on August 31st. And we'll try to do that series on Tuesdays and Thursdays through September, October, and November. We'll try to keep that pace up. I want to try to keep up Griffin, Indiana, Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays through the rest of September, October, and November. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tight because there's other games that I want to bring into the channel that are coming out in October and November. So it's going to be difficult, but we're going to try to, like I said, record ahead of schedule and have a backlog of videos so that we can then spend time playing those other games while keeping to our release schedule for our Farm Sim series. I've rambled on for plenty at this point. I'm going to go ahead and close out the video at this point. We are about 20 minutes in. I think if I wanted to continue on, I'd just ramble for another 10 minutes and it wouldn't be that useful. I don't think we need to do a time lapse. We've done plenty of time lapses over the last few weeks. So, yeah, I think I'm going to go ahead and call it here. I'm going to finish up the spraying of herbicide on the lower field, just below the farm, and the big field up above the farm. And then I'm going to finish out the game day by doing those fertilizing contracts to pad up our bank account. Big shout out to all the farm hands and farm bosses. I just updated the credits list there with all the latest names as of the recording of this video. And until next time, happy farming.